Hashtag askgojiman, can you explain inflammation in the body in a bit more detail, why it is so bad for you and how you can best reduce it? Great question, let's get to it, roll the titles. Welcome back, it's good to see you all again. If we haven't met before, then hi, I'm GojiMan. I'm currently finishing a Masters in Nutrition and qualifying as a Nutritionist, and next year I'll be studying for a PhD in Nutritional Science. I do plant-based nutrition videos every other day in which I answer your health questions under the hashtag askgojiman. So if you have a question for me, then hashtag askgojiman in the comments below, and I'll choose one of these questions to answer in my next video for you. So before I jump into the question, since I posted my video detailing my book and my future case studies on this channel, many of you have sent me messages about supporting these projects. I have therefore set up a Patreon account earlier than planned that will be used to make the content on this channel more valuable for you all. So I will obviously eventually use this money for testing on lots of your different health conditions, etc. But in the meantime, I will look to get expert guests on the channel to help us all learn in greater detail about how we can fix the gut and reverse diseases, or just improve our overall health and quality of life. If you do want to support this community and this channel, then I will leave the Patreon link in the description below. Please only do this if you can afford to, and more importantly, please do not donate if you could better use this money investing in your own health. And by this I mean, if it means that you contribute to this channel instead of buying organic, then please don't do that. Your health always comes first. Please only donate if you can spare a small amount each month, if you value the content on this channel and if you can afford it. And on that note, let's jump into the question. So the first thing that I want to say about inflammation is that it's probably one of the leading causes of all diseases today. Heart disease, cancer, strokes, you name it, inflammation will often be driving these killers. Those people on standard Western diets and even vegans who live off crisps and pizzas are so inflamed internally it's making them sicker and sicker, and this problem will only get worse for many. I also want to say that inflammation isn't always a bad thing. Obviously if you break a bone or come down with the flu, inflammation is part of the body's defense system that will protect you and help heal the body. So when activated by our body's defense system, inflammation is a tightly regulated process that is fundamental to our existence. The problem that many face today is that their bodies are constantly caught up in the inflammation cycle, which is a really bad situation to be in, especially if you want to avoid diseases like cancer and heart disease. So what is it then that causes this constant cycle of inflammation, and what can we do if we are caught up in this cycle? So for many people, their inflammation is caused by their diets and lifestyle, so junk foods, processed refined sugars, alcohol, food allergies, caffeine, medication, stress, lack of exercise, the list literally goes on and on. These foods and the lifestyle factors can trigger the white blood cells and the substances they produce to become activated with many other chemicals in the body that can cause systemic-wide inflammation. The body is simply trying to protect you from yourself. So the first thing that you can do to reduce the level of inflammation in the body is to obviously not do the thing that is making you inflamed in the first place. So remove the junk foods, reduce the stress in your life, get exercise in, reduce the caffeine and get lots of sunshine. So if you do all of this in conjunction with eating lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, then the inflammation will come down quite rapidly. I also want to talk about a specific element of inflammation that often gets forgotten about, and that is food sensitivities and food allergens. So here what I'm talking about is not being allergic to foods and anaphylactic shock. What I'm talking about is sensitivities in the body that aren't instant, but nonetheless heavily drive inflammation in the body. These are very low grade and often people don't recognise the symptoms until they get worse and worse. Symptoms of these low grade inflammation reactions can include chronic fatigue, brain fog, tinnitus, weight gain, anxiety, depression, tension headaches, joint problems, the list is literally endless. Now the problem for many of us is that we will go to our doctors with many of these different types of symptoms, and our doctors will run some blood tests. These will come back normal and you're sent on your way as being healthy. Doctors and the medical profession often consider low-grade inflammation in the body as nonsense, just as in the way they viewed Lyme disease and fibromyalgia as nonsense for many years, until they could find a medication that could be used in their treatments. And all the time they are ignoring people, their symptoms, and this low-grade inflammation is getting worse and worse, and people are getting sicker and sicker. And this is one of the biggest travesties of modern medicine today. Now, frequently these sensitivities and inflammation is allowed to occur because of a gut dysbiosis issue. So for example, if you have leaky gut and your gut is allowing food particles into your bloodstream, then your body can respond to these as if they were harmful to the body through an antibody response, which in turn will cause inflammation. If this low-grade inflammation isn't addressed along with the gut dysbiosis, then autoimmune diseases are likely to ensue. This could be in the form of fibromyalgia, thyroid issues, or even psoriasis. And in the Western world today, we have an epidemic of these types of diseases, and every year the issue gets worse and worse. So what is it then that causes these gut dysbiosis issues that in turn drives the inflammation? Well, again, it's poor diet, it's antibiotics that destroy our gut microbiome and allow candida to occur, it's too much sugar, and it's often also stress. So when all of this is occurring, the gut lining becomes damaged and all hell breaks loose. 60% of your immune system is sat right behind your gut lining, so when the lining is broken down, foods and toxins flood into your system, which triggers an immune response and low-grade inflammation. Now, I've done a video specifically on how you heal the gut on a vegan diet, so be sure to check that out here. But if you don't want to watch the whole thing now, then here are some general tips and advice for you. First thing that you need to do is get all of the processed and sugary foods out of your diet. You also need to remove all of those foods that you are reacting to, such as gluten and soy. Then you need to find out what is actually driving the leaky gut. So is it candida, SIBO, or something else? Now, all of these will require different treatment plans that, depending on the severity, will often include supplements to get the gut operating correctly again. Now, when you've got rid of the driver for leaky gut, then you need to heal the gut as quickly as possible and boost the beneficial bacteria. A good way of doing this is through fermented foods. Again, I will do a follow-up video on fermented foods and how you make them, because if you have certain conditions such as histamine intolerance, then you need to make these fermented foods in a certain way. So hopefully you can see why reducing inflammation is so important, and often that you need to heal the gut in many cases to reduce the inflammation. So that's the end of today's video. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have a question for me, then hashtag askgojiman in the comments below, and I'll choose one of these questions to answer in my next video for you. And as always, remember to look after your body, because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.